it's storytelling time. Hello, boys. Hello, girls. Hello, everyone. It's storytelling time. Hi, it's time for Tell Me a Story with Librarian Jeanne. That's me, Librarian Jeanne from the Santa Cruz Public Libraries. I hope you're all reading this summer as well. And if you are interested in signing up for our summer reading program, go to www.santacruzpl.org and look for all the fun programs and events that we have coming up for summer reading. Our summer reading theme this summer is Imagine Your Story. We're going to do a little bit of that this evening. So, the story I'm going to tell today has three main characters. I'm going to show you some of them, three of them. This is Little Red Riding Hood. And this is a sort of magic doll. When I turn her over, there's grandmother. And when I flip this, oh, who's that? Oh my goodness, that's the big bad wolf. I think he's the villain of this piece. Now, for adults and parents who are listening I have a little bit of a warning. When I started to tell this story, to practice telling this story, I realized just how violent it is. And I did a little bit of research, and I found out one of the things I want to recommend to you is a book called Uses of Enchantment by Bruno Bettleheim. Now, we do not have it in our library, but because it was written in 1976. I think that's probably why we don't have it right now. But it's available. Information about it is available online. Look it up online. And in this book, Bettleheim analyzes the value of fairy tales for children. One of the values is that it brings to their mind the dangers of the world. And when these stories were first told and then written down, the world was a very different place. That's not to say it's not a dangerous world now, but it was dangerous in very different ways. And this story about Little Red Riding Hood dates back to the 10th century. So it's an old story, still has value today. So, Little Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time, there was a little girl who lived in a village at the edge of the forest with her mother. And her grandmother gave her this wonderful red hooded cloak. You see, it's got a cape at the back and a nice hood that covers her head. She liked it so much that she wore it every day when she went out. And one day, when she was just sitting around the house with her mom, her mother said to her, grandmother's not feeling very well. I'd like you to take this basket of goodies to her. And Little Red Riding Hood said, of course. And she ran to get her red cape and put it on. And before she left, her mother said to her, now remember, don't go off the path. And for goodness sakes, don't talk to strangers. And when you get to grandmother's house, you'll be very safe. So she said, oh, Mom, you know how little girls are. Probably have been one once, or a little boy. Oh, Mom, I'm going to be okay. I'll stay on the path and I won't talk to strangers. I'm so excited to see grandmother. So she went on her way, walking along, thinking about visiting her with her grandmother. And she saw some beautiful flowers along the path. And she thought, oh, wouldn't grandmother like these to have with her goodies? So she picked some flowers, and she was looking at more flowers, and she sort of was wandering along, not knowing exactly where she was going, or not paying attention to exactly where she was going. And suddenly, in front of her, there was a stranger. And he said, "Oh, little girl, where are you going?" And without thinking, she said, "Oh, I'm off to my grandmother's house. I've got a basket of goodies for her. She's not feeling very well." And the stranger said, "Ooh, that's too bad." And all the while, this stranger was thinking, "Ooh, what a tasty morsel that little girl is. I will go along and see it at her grandmother's house, and then I'll get a double dose. I'll get the grandmother and the little girl." So the wolf, that's who it was, that's who the stranger was, ran off around a shortcut to grandmother's house. And at this point, Little Red Riding Hood realized that she was dilly-dallying and she better get on her way. And after all, she'd picked a lot of flowers. So she went on her way, and while she was there, the wolf beat her to it. He got to grandmother's house soon, and he knocked on the door, and grandmother said, "Oh, why don't you just come on in? I'm not feeling very well." So the wolf rushed in, and the grandmother said, "Oh!" And before she could get anything else out, the wolf went and swallowed her right down. And then he thought, "Ooh, I better get in bed and hide away so that the Little Red Riding Hood won't recognize me when she gets here." And just as he'd gotten into bed, pulled up the hood, the granny's cap over to hide his ears, and he heard a knock on the door. He tried to disguise his voice. "Oh, I'm not feeling very well. Why don't you just come on in?" Well, Little Red Riding Hood was a little, she thought, "Oh, I'm so sorry. My grandmother's not feeling well." So she did. She went in and she looked. She thought her grandmother's voice sounded a little strange. So she was in and she said, "Hello, Granny." "Granny, your voice sounds a little strange." And grandmother, the wolf, said, "Well, I'm a little hoarse. I'm just not feeling very well. Come a little closer to me." And she stepped a little closer and she said, "Oh, grandmother, what big ears you have." And the wolf, as grandmother said, "Oh, the better to hear you with, my dear. Come a little closer." And Little Red Riding Hood said, "Oh, Granny, what big eyes you had." And the wolf, as grandmother said, "Oh, the better to see you with, my dear." And the Little Red Riding Hood, and then the wolf said, "And come a little bit closer." And as the little girl, just another step closer, and she said, "Oh, Granny, what a big mouth you have." And she barely got that out before the wolf said, "The better to eat you with." Snap! And he swallowed her up too. And there they were, grandmother and Little Red Riding Hood in the wolf's belly, and the wolf was very full. So he lay down back on the bed, and he started snoring, and he snored so loudly that a woodsman who was walking through the woods heard that snore, and he said, "I know that an old lady lives there. She must be, well, she doesn't usually snore that loudly." So he went in and he saw the wolf lying on the bed, and he thought, "Oh, well, I wonder where the grandmother is. She's usually here, and there's not usually a wolf in her bed." And so he cut open the wolf's belly, and to his amazement, out popped Little Red Riding Hood. There she is. And her grandmother. They were okay, little bit shaken, but okay. And they decided to get to punish the wolf, they would get some stones. They filled up his belly with stones, and then the woodsman sewed it up. And when the wolf got up, he couldn't walk, and he fell into the well and drowned. And that's the story of Little Red Riding Hood. Now, do you think she learned a lesson from that? I hope so. Not to talk to strangers. Yeah. So that's the end of that story. Now, let's sing our ending song, and we'll come, next week, there'll be a story, a bedtime story with Librarian Jackie. So, good night, girls. Good night, boys. Good night, everyone. I'm going to leave you now. Merrily we roll along, roll along, roll along. Merrily we roll along. We're off to bed right now. Farewell, girls. Farewell, boys. Farewell, everyone. I'm going to leave you now. Merrily we roll along, roll along, roll along. Merrily we roll along. We are off to bed. Sweet dreams, girls. Sweet dreams, boys. Sweet dreams, everyone. It's time to leave you now. Merrily we roll along, roll along, roll along. Merrily we roll along. We are off to bed. So tune in next week at 7 p.m. on Wednesday for Bedtime Stories with Librarian Jackie. And don't forget to check out our library website, www.santacruzpl.org, for more information about special programs, ongoing programs, and our summer reading program, Imagine Your Story. Good night. Sleep tight.